Welcome back to Mets Daily. I'm your host, Jake Brown, at Jake Brown Live. Hit that thumbs up on the video, hit that subscribe button, and go follow your boy at Jake Brown Live. No more sulking today. I got my speech out of the way yesterday. We're in better spirits today. Let's talk some Mets baseball. Let's have some fun. We'll read your comments at the end of the show. I've seen many of your comments. Thank you so much for the support, everyone. It does mean a lot, so I appreciate you all very much. Let's do what we do best, and let's talk Mets baseball. And that's Tobias Myers will be on the opening day roster. And, I don't think this is a shock. I think what's interesting is that they're just putting this out there now, on February 18th, yesterday, putting it out there that he's making the roster. I don't think any of us had doubts that he would, but I think we're all thinking to ourselves, what was his role going to be? Now, they're stretching him out to be a starter, but the plan is if he's not a starter, he will come out of the bullpen. And I think that's probably where he's going to thrive. Like I've mentioned, Swiss Army knife guy. If there's an injury to a starter, he comes in. If a starter, which happened almost every game last year in the second half, doesn't get through the fourth inning, Tobias Myers is your fourth inning guy. Tobias Myers acts as like a piggyback. And I think this bullpen badly needed someone like him. So we'll see how the injuries shake out. We've mentioned it. It always happens. But if Myers is your seventh starter right now, if one of the first six do get hurt, then he's that next guy up. But I think the Mets have talked very highly of him, and, he wasn't just the other guy in the Freddie Peralta trade. He was a big part of that Freddie Peralta trade, and why the Mets made it. They said, hey, we'll give you Jet Williams and Brandon Sproat, but we don't just want Freddie Peralta. We want another piece to add to our pitching staff. And he's the perfect guy that this roster was kind of missing when it came to, okay, who could spot start, who can come in the fourth inning, who's had success in both roles. And Tobias Myers has done that. He's been a starter. He's been a reliever. And listen, he's cheap. He's free. He's in a control a while. He's a good guy to have on this roster. One guy trying to fight his way potentially onto the roster is Luis Garcia. Luis Garcia kind of flew under the radar as a signing by the Mets because, we know he's a journeyman. He's been around the league forever. Luis Garcia has been in the league for 13 years. He's coming off a year where he pitched for 3 different teams at some point in the Dodgers, Nationals, and Angels. A 3.42 ERA in 55 and a third innings, 48 strikeouts. He's a guy on his career, averages almost a strikeout inning. He's a guy with a career whip of 1.4. He's a guy with a career ERA of 4.07. So he's a middle-of-the-pack reliever. He's had some really good seasons. He's had some bad seasons. It's been a mixed bag in his career, but the reality is he's a veteran. He's been there. He's pitched in the AL. He's pitched in the NL. He's been in a lot of different clubhouses, a lot of different locker rooms. And he is 39. This might be his last year or second to last year, but clearly last year he didn't lose his stuff. He still had stuff in the tank, considering he had one of his better years at the age of 38 years old. He just turned 39 at the end of January, so this will be his age 39 season. Listen, I think he ends up being probably the last guy on the roster. I think Luis Garcia, he was signed to a major league contract, but the Mets could easily just cut him. I think it depends how he looks in spring, but I do have a feeling Luis Garcia is the last guy to make that bullpen, to make that team. Who else makes the team? Is it going to be Craig Kimbrell? Carlos Mendoza talked about Kimbrell. He's going to get a chance. Maybe it comes down to a situation. It's going to come down to these two guys. Does it come down to Luis Garcia and Craig Kimbrell to complete the Mets bullpen? I've mentioned on here before, I think the Mets bullpen is the one, I don't want to call it question mark, but the one part of the team that could really make or break them, because I actually really like the starting. I like the hitting. Do I love the bullpen? I don't love it, but I like it. So I think a lot's going to depend on, does Devin Williams rebound? Does he get back to being the career, 1.52 ERA reliever at the back end of that bullpen? Does Luke Weaver have a, rejuvenate himself to what he was in 2024? Does A.J. Minter come back from injury successfully? One of these roster spots could go to one of these guys because Minter wouldn't be ready for opening day. If Minter's ready opening day, Garcia or Kimbrell could be the odd man out. But when you look at the bullpen right now, it's Devin, it's Luke Weaver, it's Brooks Raley. Let's say Minter healthy. It's Minter, it's Tobias Myers, and then TBD. The guys fighting for those last couple spots. It's Garcia fighting for it. It's Huascar Brazaban fighting for it. It's Brian Hudson fighting for it. It's Craig Kimbrell fighting for it. So it's all part of the game, man. And, the hope is that a couple of these guys you stash in the minors and for the first sign of an injury, you call them up. But when you talk about experience, we talked about Garcia's 13 years. Craig Kimbrell's got 16 to the tune of a 2.58 ERA. Craig Kimbrell still has something left in the tank. He was not good in 2024. Outside of 2024, has had a lot of good seasons in the big leagues. A lot of good seasons. And, showed he still had some stuff at the end of last year with the Astros. Showed he still had something left in the tank. I think he's got something to prove. Guy who had pretty decent seasons in 22-23, imploded in 2024 with the Baltimore Orioles, but, showed something in very brief time last year, but very brief. He's got one more sign to prove until he probably hangs up the cleats. He'll be 38 in May, but, man, if Kimbrel works out, and Carlos Mendoza talked about he's been playing around with a cutter that looks good, so maybe a new pitch added to Craig Kimbrell's arsenal, that could really be a Met bullpen piece that puts this team over the ledge. Push this team over the edge, excuse me. So I'm excited to see if Kimbrell's got something. I'm excited to see what Luis Garcia's got. They got a good mix. They got veterans. They got young pitchers like Brian Hudson, like Tobias Myers. This is a bullpen that has a good mix of old, young, and in between that it could be really effective. But it also could implode, and I hope it doesn't. But, you do have guys with good track records in this bullpen. I think that's key here with the Mets. With Myers, good track record. Luis Garcia, long career. Brooks Raley's been fantastic. Devin Williams, outside of last year, has had an incredible career. Luke Weaver's been solid as a reliever since he transitioned from a starter a couple years ago where he struggled as a starter. But there's some reclamation projects in here. There's some veterans with a point to prove, but who might also hang up the cleats at some point this year. And there's guys coming off years in the other side of town that have something to prove coming to Queens. So a lot of interesting stories are coming out of this Met bullpen. You're watching Mets Daily. I'm Jake Brown. Hit that thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button. Make sure you share the channel as well. As we approach 4,100 subscribers, we got our first sponsor on board next week. We'll talk about that next week. Looking forward to a couple sponsors on board. So hit us up. Hit me up if you're interested in being part of the program and sponsoring Mets Daily. We are open. This is partnered with Fran Arch, so just reach out to me. Let me know. We'd love to have you on board as we get gear up for the 2026 season. Let's get to your comments from yesterday's show. No other real Mets news. Tony Garcia has been replaced. The union leadership will be Bruce Meyer. So that was an interesting storyline. We talked a little bit about the production of the new spring training complex, $60 million, all paid for by Steve Cohen. Which is awesome. Francisco Lindor said, let's focus on winning, and I respect it on Steve Cohen's no captain under his watch. So that was Lindor's reaction. Lindor wouldn't react any other way to that. Photo day at Citi Field, so you're seeing all the pictures come out. Love photo day. These guys, put on their jerseys, bring the apple. It's like the first day of school. So you're seeing a lot of photo day action on Twitter today. Another interesting storyline, Luis Robert and Juan Soto. We knew that they were friends. They've been hanging around together. Luis Robert has been Starling Marte to Juan Soto. Like, he's been the guy he's been walking around with, playing catch with. They're going to be tight, and you really hope that Juan Soto's presence brings back prime Luis Robert. I mean, if Luis Robert gets back to the 38 homer guy a few years ago, that is a diamond in the rough in this Mets lineup. And that was, he's going to possibly be like hitting 6th or 7th. Luis Robert, in the middle to bottom of the order could be a scary piece in this Mets lineup with the speed that he brings to the table, with the power, with the defense. He is a real X factor to this Mets team. And if he works out and that trade works, Mets will look like geniuses. Because Chris Getz, the White Sox GM, said about 10 times that Luis Angel Acuna was a switch hitter, and he's not. So I think he might have thought he was acquiring Ronnie Mauricio. I don't know. But he did not require a switch hitter. No, Luis Angel Acuna will be great in Chicago. I think he'll get a chance to play with the White Sox. But the amount of interviews where he said that he was a switch hitter is fascinating. I mean, that is just bad front office work. If you acquire a guy thinking they're a switch hitter, keep saying it, and not realize that he's not. All right, your comments from Cannoli220. Sorry to hear about that. Best of luck to you. I just came across your channel. Love your content. Appreciate it, Cannoli. Some people did call me the Cannoli King at Citi Field, so shout out to Cannolis. Brian Reese says, thanks for still powering through under circumstances. As a fan of your content, I really appreciate it. Stay strong. I'm not sure what it meant. What you look like in the industry. You're a handsome dude. Don't sell yourself short. Well wishes. Well, thank you, Brian. What I mean is looks, it's change in certain way. I don't think I'm ugly, but looks wise, how the industry's hiring on-air people has changed. And if you catch my drift. San Mandenson, sorry to hear about your job day. You get something bigger and better. Best of luck. Appreciate it. Nathaniel says, as may not know you personally, I do know the Fortune favorite people that may want to succeed as bad as you do. Keep your head up in the quality content coming. We're rooting for you. Thank you so much, Nathaniel. Appreciate that. Mitchell says, as my mom used to say, it's out there waiting for you, so try not to despair. The job outlook isn't great, but you'll land on your feet. Best of luck, Jake. Love your videos. Thank you, Mitchell. Thank you so much. Peak Medina says, blessing you, Jake. You will conquer this mountain for sure. Thanks for sharing. We got you in prayer, bro. LGM 26, LG Jake 26. I like that. LGJ. Let's go, Jake 26. Thank you, Peak Media, or Medina, from Greg. Sorry to hear about that, Jake. Pray about it, and the good Lord will open the doors for you. Past 35 years. Been a New York transplant, living in Florida. I love it here. God bless. Let's go, Mets. We're praying on it. We're praying on it. Yeah, I'm going to be talking more today about that potential Tampa opportunity I mentioned. So I'll keep you guys posted. Obviously, if I move, you'll see a different backdrop. I'll let you know. But obviously, it does change the plan. Like, I will still fly up for Met games, not as often. So I'll definitely make it an occasion. Like, when I fly up, we'll do a Mets daily Met game, and I'll fly up for the weekend, and we'll have some fun. But it's a big life decision. So I'll know more by the end of the day, by tomorrow, by next week. We'll have some more ideas. But the hope is to potentially stay here in the Big Apple. Mel Costin says, damn, man, sorry to hear this. Hang in there. It's brutal out here, but you'll find a path forward. And Whiskey Tavern is one hell of a place. Rob and crew definitely know how to make a Patron nice and comfortable. Tell me you had a pickleback. You can't go there with having a pickleback. I don't think we had a pickleback. I don't love picklebacks, Mel. I'm not the smell of pickles. I'm not a pickle guy. Anytime I get a sandwich with pickle, I give it to whoever I'm with, or I just throw it out. So I think we just had tequila, to be honest. But good to know. But yeah, shout out to, I don't know which one was Rob, but shout out to the crew. I think I met Rob. Shout out to the crew there. They were a fun time. Ringing in the Lunar New Year. Scott just subbed LFGM. Thank you, Scott. Welcome aboard. Dr. Manhattan, sorry to hear that. As one door closed, another will open. Best of luck to you, Jake. Thank you, Dr. Manhattan. As I'm in Manhattan right now, I'll be going back to South Jersey today. But, it is interesting going from hotel to hotel here and now not working. Obviously I came to the city to go to the office, and now I'm not. So it's kind of bizarre, but I will be going back home today. Tom says, sorry to hear that. Good luck. I'm sure things will work out in the long run. Thank you, Tom. Michael says, very sorry to hear, Jake. Things happen for a reason. You'll be fine. Bigger and better things on the horizon. Best of luck, Jake. Hang in there, from William Cook. Ed DeBiro says, who said life is easy? It's part of the growing process of life. 100% sure you'll get a better job. Mayor, higher power. Good health. Same. Sorry to hear, buddy. You'll land something soon. Michael. Mr. Titus Turner, sorry to hear your bad news. Hopefully you and your former coworkers bounce back soon. Good luck, bro. LGM, Florida, good luck. Sir P. Nieto. Just keep grinding, says Lazy Linu. RK Perfect Review, sorry about your job loss and the awful state the U.S. job market's in, but hey, the Dow is up to 50,000. Doc 20 says, sorry, brother, if you end up in 20, I will end up in Florida, I will welcome another Mets fan to the state. Will Diaz says, dude, I got laid off the same day I saw my son on ultrasound. Baby coming, no job. My son is 27 years old now. I got through it, and you will too. Mets fans persevere. Best of luck. That's awesome, Will. Sad situation, but I'm glad you powered through, and that will motivate me to do the same. So I appreciate that. MD says, been there, Jake. Double down on being yourself. It's a harder path, but it's the only sustainable way out. Hang in there. Yeah, I mean, listen, I think what I am going to do is a lot more of my own stuff and trying to get my own partners and sponsors. And you can't rely on any of these companies anymore. The market sucks. And there's definitely a better job out there. Listen, when I got this job, I'll be honest, it wasn't my dream job. I was excited. I was going to be back in New York. The money wasn't terrible, wasn't great. I was just happy to be coming back, and I could work on the show and get more New York content and start to do more on the side. So this was never a dream job. This was never a long landing spot. I didn't expect the core to be cut so soon, but, it's not the end of the world. Obviously, it was sad, but we keep moving. We keep pushing, and we'll keep pushing tomorrow on Mets Daily. Hit that thumbs up. Follow me on socials, X, Instagram, and Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. I gotta stop calling it X. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok at Jake Brown Live. And please go to my YouTube and subscribe right now. I'm going to start working more on that now that I have more free time. At Jake Brown Live. Please hit subscribe. Would love to get to 1,000 on there. If all of you could just hit subscribe to Jake Brown Live right now. Once I get to 1,000, I'm going to do a giveaway. So we're far away. I'm not at 500 yet. So please share Jake Brown Live. I'm going to work on doing a lot more stuff there, a lot more lifestyle entertainment. I could write a book about everything that's happened in my life, people I've talked to. So I'm going to do a lot more stuff of that. We got Mets Daily here. We'll have Mets there, but a lot more New York sports, entertainment, lifestyle, Broadway, food, all on. It's an all-in-one package at Jake Brown Live. We'll talk to you tomorrow right here on Mets Daily.